Title: Hearts Across the Sea. Chapter 1: The Enigmatic Letter. In the bustling city of New York, Emma Caldwell, a 29-year-old freelance writer, lived a life marked by routine and solitude. Her days were spent at a small cafe in Greenwich Village, typing away on her laptop, and her nights were filled with books and quiet reflection. Her life took a turn when she received a mysterious letter from Paris. The letter, postmarked from a charming neighborhood in Paris, was addressed to Emma but contained no return address. Inside was a beautifully handwritten note from a man named Julien Moreau, a French historian who had discovered a journal that belonged to Emma's great-grandmother, Claire Hartwell. Julien's letter explained that he was researching a historical project on expatriate lives in Paris during the 1920s and had come across Claire's journal, which detailed a passionate love affair that had never been resolved. Emma was intrigued. Her great-grandmother's story was a mystery in her family's history, and the idea of uncovering more about her life was irresistible. Julien's letter invited Emma to Paris to discuss the findings and explore her family's past. Chapter 2: A Journey to Paris. Emma arrived in Paris during the early spring, when the city was awakening from winter's chill. The air was crisp, and the streets were adorned with blooming flowers. Julien met her at the airport with a warm smile and a bouquet of tulips. Julien was a tall man in his early 30s, with an air of understated elegance and a passion for history that was evident in his conversation. He took Emma to his charming apartment in the Marais district, filled with books and artifacts from different eras. As they sat over coffee, Julien shared his findings. Claire Hartwell's journal revealed a love affair with a French artist named Antoine Dupont. The journal described their passionate relationship, their shared dreams, and a tragic separation. The final entry hinted at an unresolved conflict that had left Claire heartbroken. Emma was captivated by the details and felt a deep connection to her great-grandmother's story. Julien suggested that they visit the places mentioned in the journal, hoping to uncover more about Claire and Antoine's love affair. Chapter 3: Rediscovering the Past. Their journey through Paris took them to iconic locations mentioned in the journal. They visited Montmartre, where Claire and Antoine had shared romantic moments, and explored quaint cafés where they had spent time together. Each location seemed to echo the past, and Emma felt as if she was stepping into her great-grandmother's life. One evening, as they wandered through a picturesque park by the Seine River, Julien revealed a startling discovery. He had found a series of letters between Claire and Antoine hidden within the pages of a book in a local library. The letters detailed their separation and hinted at a secret plan to reunite. Emma and Julien's bond grew stronger as they worked together to piece together the past. Their shared dedication to uncovering Claire's story led to late-night discussions and moments of vulnerability. Emma found herself drawn to Julien's passion and kindness, and Julien admired Emma's determination and curiosity. Chapter 4: The Unraveling Mystery. As Emma and Julien delved deeper into the letters, they uncovered a new layer of the story. Claire and Antoine had planned to reunite in the south of France, but something had prevented them from doing so. The letters hinted at a personal tragedy and a mysterious figure who had interfered in their plans. Their investigation led them to the beautiful town of Avignon, known for its historical significance and scenic beauty. In Avignon, they discovered an old family estate that had once belonged to a prominent figure who might have been connected to Claire and Antoine's story. With Julien's expertise and Emma's insights, they unraveled the mystery of the interference. They discovered that a jealous rival of Antoine's had orchestrated the separation, driven by his own ambitions and resentment. Chapter 5: A Revelation of the Heart. Hearts Across the Sea, Part 2. Chapter 1: The Echo of Promises. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon of the small coastal village, casting a golden hue over the tranquil sea. The village of Le Verger, with its winding cobblestone streets and quaint cottages, was beginning to stir awake. In one such cottage, a young woman named Eliza Ravenscroft was staring out of her window, her thoughts far from the peaceful scene before her. Eliza had spent the past month waiting for a letter that never came. Her heart ached with a mixture of anticipation and doubt. Her beloved, Thomas Hartfield, had sailed across the sea to America, promising to return once he had secured their future. But the weeks had turned into months, and there was no word from him. Every morning, Eliza hoped that today would be the day she would receive news, but each sunset found her waiting. At the village's edge, a man named Edward Baines, a local fisherman, prepared his boat for the day's work. Edward had been a friend of Thomas's and had watched their relationship blossom. He approached Eliza with a sympathetic look. "Eliza," he called gently as he neared her home. "Any news from Thomas?" Eliza shook her head, her eyes glistening. "Not yet, Edward. I fear the worst. It's been so long." Edward's face was etched with concern. "I know it's hard, but you mustn't lose hope. He's a strong man, and he loves you dearly. Something must be keeping him from writing." Eliza nodded, though her heart was heavy. "Thank you, Edward. I suppose I'll just have to keep waiting." Chapter 2, Across the Atlantic. Thomas Hartfield leaned against the railing of the steamship Horizon as it cut through the Atlantic waves. His journey had been long and arduous, filled with unpredictable weather and exhausting days. Yet, he was driven by the thought of returning to Eliza. The Horizon was a marvel of modern engineering, and its sleek design made the voyage smoother than earlier ships, but Thomas's thoughts were consumed by the uncertainty of his return. He had been working tirelessly in America, trying to establish himself in a new land to ensure a stable future for him and Eliza. As he watched the waves, his thoughts were interrupted by a fellow passenger, a distinguished gentleman named Robert Sinclair. Robert had taken a particular interest in Thomas, having heard snippets of his story. "You seem troubled, Mr. Hartfield," Robert said, joining Thomas at the railing. Thomas sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I am. I left behind someone very dear to me. She's been waiting for me, and I've been unable to write. It's been far too long." Robert nodded with understanding. "I know how you feel. I've been in similar situations myself. If it helps, remember that every day that passes brings you closer to your reunion." Thomas appreciated the sentiment but found little solace in it. The time apart felt like an eternity, and the longer it took, the more his worries grew. Chapter 3, The Storm. Back in Le Verger, Eliza's days had settled into a monotonous rhythm. Her routine consisted of tending to her small garden, helping in the local bakery, and waiting. One evening, as she walked to the edge of the village, dark clouds began to gather over the sea. A storm was approaching.